We find that we have a close equivalent to the Hebrew, as the meaning here is also the underworld and the place of the dead.
This remarkable drawing of the underworld is just one of the magnificent drawings by Clarence Larkin. It shows the various compartments of the biblical underworld.
When we compare the Hebrew Sheol with the Greek Septuagint, we find that the word is Hades. We find that we have a close equivalent to the Hebrew, as the meaning here is also the underworld and the place of the dead.
Before we get too far into this video, we would like to give credit to Clarence Larkin for his great works on this subject matter, as much that we are considering here today are the results of his labors in the Lord Jesus Christ.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and, behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And, behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
4 great empires, and only 4 were to succeed each other in the government of the world, from Nebuchadnezzar beginning around 606 BC until the second coming of Christ. These 4 were the Babylonian, the Medo-Persian, the Grecian, and Roman. These empires are not only made known as to number, but their names in the order of their succession are given. The first, being the Babylonian, is indicated by Daniel while interpreting the vision to Nebuchadnezzar. Here he says, "Thou art this head of gold." The second, being the Medo-Persian, Daniel points out and further elaborates on in his account of Belshazzar's feast by the emphatic words, "In that night was Belshazzar the king of the Chaldeans slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom." Clearly, this is shown in chapter 5, verses 30 to 31. The next, or third, was the Grecian, which is further mentioned in Daniel's book in chapter 8, verses 20 to 21. Here he says, "The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia," which is, of course, Greece. The fourth was the Roman Empire, and is referred to in Daniel chapter 9, verse 26, as the people of the prince that should destroy the city, implying Jerusalem and the sanctuary. And we know that it was the Roman Empire under Titus, as each nation were to follow each other in the order named. The Babylonian lasted from 606 to 538. The kings of Media and Persia lasted from 538 to 330. The Grecian from 330 to 323. After this, the Grecian Empire was broken up into 4 parts: Thrace, Macedonia, Syria, and Egypt, and the last of these was conquered by the Romans in the year 30 BC. The Roman Empire lasted from 30 BC to 364 AD. And afterwards it was divided into its eastern and western divisions. Since then, there has been no leading one-world empire, and cannot be according to this prophecy until Christ sets up his. Until Christ sets up his stone or millennial kingdom, as represented by the stone that smites the colossus on its feet, for this stone kingdom is to fill the whole earth, and thus be universal. This stone cannot be Christianity, for it does not fill the earth by degrees, and thus crowd out the colossus, but it at one blow demolishes it. The action of the stone is that of judgment, not grace, and is sudden and calamitous. Again, the time of the destruction is not until after the formation of the toes, and we know that the 2 limbs did not appear until AD 364, and the 10 toes have not yet developed. The time when the stone falls on the feet, we are told, is in the days of those kings we see in Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. The kings are represented by the 10 toes, which, as we shall see, corresponds with the 10 horns of Daniel's 4th wild beast, which we see in the scripture, Daniel chapter 7, verse 7 to 8. and with the 10 kings of John's beast in Revelation chapter 17, verse 12. The first 4 kingdoms were literal kingdoms, and so must the stone kingdom be, for it is to take the place of those kingdoms and fill the whole earth. It represents, therefore, the millennial kingdom of Christ, for he is the stone of the Scriptures as indicated in Matthew chapter 21, verse 44.
Jesus saith unto them, Did ye never read in the Scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner? This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of God shall be taken from you, and given to a nation, bringing forth the fruits thereof. And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder.
From what has been said, we see that the Colossus of Nebuchadnezzar's dream symbolized the world, kingdoms in their unity and historical succession. Gentile dominion is represented by a huge metallic man. The degeneration of the world kingdoms is seen in the diminishing value of the metals used. Silver is worth less than gold, brass than silver, iron than brass, and clay than iron. The weight of the Colossus also declines. The specific gravity of gold is 19.5, of silver 1047, brass 8, of cast iron 5, and of clay 193. The Colossus is top-heavy. The character of the governing power also deteriorates from an absolute monarchy under Nebuchadnezzar to an autocratic democracy, symbolized by the mixture of the iron and clay of the feet. In other words, the governing power passes from the head, the organ that ought to direct the members of the body, to the feet, which are only made to carry the body whither the head directs. We have dwelt thus at length on the Colossus, for it is only as we understand it that we can understand the meaning of the wild beasts that Daniel saw come up out of the sea. Many Bible scholars believed these are continuing to develop through the European Union, which make up the original Roman Empire, although there are now more than 10. 48 years after Nebuchadnezzar had his dream, about 555 BC, Daniel in vision stood upon the shore of the Great Sea, which is likely the Mediterranean, and saw 4 great beasts come out of the sea in succession. The first beast was like a lion and had eagle's wings, and as the prophet watched it, he saw it lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon its feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. We have only to visit the British Museum, London, and examine the colossal stone lions with the wings of an eagle and the head of a man, disinterred from the ruins of Babylon and Assyria by Sir Henry Layard between the years 1840 and 1850 AD, to see that this first beast stands for Babylon and its king Nebuchadnezzar. The peculiarity of this first beast was that it had eagle's wings. This combination of the lion, the king of beasts, and the eagle, the king of birds, corresponded to the royalty of the head of gold of the Colossus, and typified the eagle-like swiftness of the armies of the plucking of the wings doubtless referred to the beastly insanity of Nebuchadnezzar, and the lifting up and causing to stand upon its feet as a man to his restoration to sanity. The second beast was like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. The bear is the strongest beast after the lion, and is distinguished for its voracity. But it has none of the agility and majesty of the lion, is awkward in its movements, and effects its purpose with comparative slowness. And by brute force and sheer strength, these were the characteristics of the Medo-Persian Empire. It was ponderous in its movements. It did not gain its victories by bravery or skill, but overwhelmed its enemies by hurling vast masses of troops upon them. Xerxes' expedition against Greece was undertaken with 2,500,000 fighting men, who with the camp followers made up an army of 5,000,000. Other Persian generals had armies running up into the mouths and thousands of men. It is easy to be seen that the movements of such enormous bodies of men would devour much flesh. not only in the destruction of their enemies, but thousands would die of disease and exposure. And the countries through which they passed would become famine-stricken by the loss of food seized to feed such armies. The side of the bear which raised up to attack signifies Persia, in which lay the greatest military strength, and corresponded to the right shoulder and arm of the Colossus. The 3 ribs stood for the 3 kingdoms of Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt, which formed a triple alliance to check the Medo-Persian power, but were all destroyed by it. The 3rd beast was like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. The leopard is the most agile and graceful of creatures, but its speed is here still further assisted by wings. Slight in its frame, but strong, swift, and fierce, its characteristics render it a fitting symbol of the rapid conquests of the Greeks under Alexander the Great, who, followed by small but well-equipped and splendidly brave armies, moved with great celerity and in about 10 years overthrew the unwieldy forces of Persia and subdued the whole civilized world. The 4 wings of a fowl indicate that, as a fowl does not fly high, the armies of Alexander were fitted mainly for lowland fighting. There is an incongruity between the number of wings and the number of heads of the leopard. 4 heads call for 4 pair of wings. Why only 4 wings we do not know, unless they denote the 4 quarters of the earth into which Alexander sought to extend his kingdom. The 4 heads of the leopard represent the 4 kingdoms into which the empire of Alexander was divided by his generals, namely Thrace, Macedonia, Syria, and Egypt. The 3rd beast corresponds to the abdomen and hips of the Colossus. The 4th beast was unlike any beast that Daniel had ever seen or heard about. It was dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue, the other beasts, with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. The fact that the 4th beast had iron teeth, and that there were 10 horns on its head, the iron corresponding to the iron limbs, and the 10 horns to the 10 toes of the Colossus, would cause Daniel to see that the 4th beast stood for the 4th world empire, the Roman. Fragments of the ancient Roman Empire have never ceased to exist as separate kingdoms. It was the imperial form of government which ceased, the one head wounded to death. What we have prophetically in Revelation chapter 13 verse 3 is the restoration of the imperial form as such, though over a federated empire of 10 kingdoms. The head is healed, that is, restored. There is an emperor again, the beast. But as Daniel considered the 10 horns, he was amazed to see another horn, a little one, come up among them, and before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, that is, destroyed. And as he examined the little horn more closely, he noticed that it had eyes like the eyes of a man, and the mouth of a man speaking great things. This mystified and troubled Daniel. He had seen nothing corresponding to it on the 10 toes of the Colossus. It must mean some new and additional revelation that God had not seen fit to impart to the Gentile king, Nebuchadnezzar, and that was reserved for Daniel and his people, the Jews. For we must not forget that Daniel's own visions in the last 6 chapters of the book have to do with God's dealings with the Jewish people in the latter days. So Daniel approached one of the heavenly messengers that stood by and asked him the meaning of what he had seen. He was told that the 4 beasts stood for 4 kings or kingdoms that should arise out of the earth. Then Daniel wanted to know the truth about the 4th beast, which was so diverse from the other 3, and particularly about the little horn that came up among the 10 horns on its head. In explanation, Daniel was told that the 10 horns on the 4th beast represented 10 kings that shall arise, and that the little horn was a king that should rise among them and subdue 3 of them, and that he would be a person of remarkable intelligence and great oratorical powers, having a mouth speaking great things, that he would be audacious, arrogant, imperious, and persecuting, and change times and laws, and that the saints of the Most High, which simply mean Daniel's people, would be given into his hands for a time, and times, and the dividing of time, which we know is a clear reference to a period of 3.5 years. In this vision of the four beasts, we see degeneration just as we saw it in the metals of the Colossus. The descent is from the lion, the king of beasts, to a nondescript monster that defies description. The reason why these four kingdoms are represented first as a golden-headed metallic image, and then as a succession of wild beasts, is to show the difference between man's view and God's view of the world kingdoms. Man sees in them the concentration of wealth, majesty, and power. God sees them as a succession of rapacious wild beasts devouring one another. The explanation as to the meaning of the little horn perplexed Daniel, and he voiced it by saying, "My cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me." In other words, he had a sad look, but I kept the matter in my heart. To comfort his servant, God, 2 years later, transported Daniel in vision to Shushan, the capital of Persia. And as he stood on the bank of the river Ulai, he saw a ram which had 2 horns, one higher than the other, and the higher came up last. He saw the ram push westward and northward and southward, and nothing could stand before it. And it did according to its will. While Daniel was considering what the vision of the ram meant, he saw a he-goat come from the west, unmolested, and he noticed it had a notable horn between its eyes. And when it reached the ram, it was moved with choler or anger against it, and smote it with fury, and broke its 2 horns, and knocked it down, and stamped upon it. Then the he-goat waxed great, but when it became strong, its great horn was broken off, and 4 notable horns came up in its place, and out of one of them sprang a little horn which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land, which of course is Palestine. When Daniel sought for the meaning of this vision, he heard a voice say, "Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision." Then Gabriel said to Daniel, "The vision belongs to the time of the end, which would be that end of the times of the Gentiles, and is to make thee know what shall come to pass in the last end of the indignation, which we would simply say, the great tribulation." Gabriel then informed Daniel that the ram stood for the Medo-Persian Empire with its 2 kings, Darius and his nephew Cyrus, that the he-goat stood for the Grecian Empire, the great horn between its eyes for its first king, Alexander the Great, and that the 4 horns that took the place of the great horn stood for 4 kingdoms into which the Grecian Empire should be divided. This explanation cleared up things considerably for Daniel. It revealed to him that the 2 horns of the ram, one higher than the other, and the 2 shoulders of the bear, one higher than the other, and the 2 arms of the Colossus stood for the same thing, the double empire of Medo-Persia. He also saw that the 4 horns that came up in the place of the great horn corresponded to the 4 heads of the leopard, and therefore must correspond with the abdomen and hips of the Colossus, and stand for the Grecian Empire and its 4-fold division among the generals of Alexander the Great. But Daniel was still troubled as to the meaning of the little horn that he saw come out of one of the 4 horns of the he-goat. And Gabriel told him that it stood for a king of fierce countenance, who should stand up in the latter time of the kingdom, and who should stand up against the prince of princes, or Christ himself. We see this in Daniel chapter 8, verses 23-25. The description of this little horn so clearly corresponded to the description of the little horn that Daniel saw arise amid the 10 horns of the 4th wild beast, that he saw they described stood for the same person. The revelation so overcame Daniel that he fainted and was sick certain days.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
And the king shall do according to his will. And he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done, neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god. For he shall magnify himself above all.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, shewing himself that he is God. Remember ye not, that, when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned, who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
Little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. But they went out, that they might be made manifest that they were not all of us.
Jesus also made a prophetic reference to him. I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive. How can ye believe, which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that cometh from God only? Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had ye believed Moses, ye would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words? While Daniel had revealed to him that the little horn should come out of one of the 4 kingdoms into which the empire of Alexander the Great was divided, he was not at that time told which one, but 20 years later, in 533 BC, the information was imparted to him in a 4th vision. He saw in vision 2 kings warring against each other. One was called the king of the north, the other the king of the south. This chapter from Daniel 11 verses 1 to 45 is one of the most wonderfully minute as to prophetic details of the Bible. It corresponds exactly with the profane history of the kings of Egypt and Syria for over 350 years. From verse 5 to verse 31, we have an account of what is called the wars of the kings of the north, which was Syria, and of the kings of the south was Egypt. These end with the close of the reign of Antiochus Epiphanes around 164 BC. Verses 32 to 35 cover the whole period from 164 BC down to the time of the end, that is, until the 70th week of Daniel's 70 weeks. At verse 36, the willful king appears. And from that verse down until the end of the book of Daniel, we have an account of what is to befall Daniel's people in the latter days. as the description of the willful king corresponded with the description of the little horn of the fourth wild beast and the little horn of the he-goat, and they were all to appear at the same time, the time of the end. Daniel understood that they referred to one and the same person, and as the willful king would be the king of the north, that is, of Syria, Daniel saw that the little horn was to rise on the Syrian horn of the he-goat. In other words, that the little horn, or Antichrist, shall come out of Syria, and as Syria included Assyria, that the little horn of Daniel is the same as the Assyrian of Isaiah. When the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, which will not be until Christ comes back, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria, which is to say the Antichrist and the glory of his high looks. I will break the Assyrian, the Antichrist, in my land Palestine, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, that is, Israel, and his burden from off their shoulders. The context shows that this prophecy is connected with the restoration of Israel to their own land, not after the Babylonian captivity, but a restoration that was still future at that time, for the Assyrian Empire had been swallowed up by the Babylonian when the prophet wrote, and the Assyrian king here mentioned must be some future Assyrian king, for he is to be brought to Palestine and destroyed there. We must not allow ourselves to be confused by the different names given the Antichrist, as the king of Tyrus, the king of Babylon, and the king of Assyria. For that section of the world will comprise one territory in the days of the Antichrist, and he will be known by all of these titles. From what we have thus far learned of the Antichrist, the probability is that he will be a Syrian Jew, for it is not likely that the Jews will accept as their Messiah one who is not a Jew, unless the claimant by false pretense makes them believe he is one. This, however, does not prevent the Antichrist being a Roman citizen, and the political head of the revived Roman Empire for Saul of Tarsus was both a Jew and a Roman citizen. Those who claim that the little horn of Daniel chapter 7 and the little horn of Daniel chapter 8 are not the same, because the little horn of Daniel chapter 7 arises amid the 10 horns of the fourth wild beast, which represents the Roman Empire, and the little horn of Daniel chapter 8 arises on one of the horns of the he-goat, which represents the Grecian Empire, and corresponds to the third wild beast. Forget that the vision that the Apostle John had of the revived Roman Empire in Revelation chapter 13, verse 1 and 2, actually represented the Roman Empire in its last stage, and reveals the fact that the last stage of the Roman Empire will include all the characteristics of the world, 4 empires, Babylonian, Medo-Persian, Grecian, and the old Roman Empire. This is seen in the character of the beast John saw come up out of the sea. It was like unto a leopard, that is Greece, with the feet of a bear, that is Medo-Persia, and the mouth of a lion, which is to say Babylon. The fact that the body of the beast was like a leopard describing Greece reveals the fact that the preponderating feature of the revived Roman Empire will be Grecian, and that therefore the 10 federated kingdoms, represented by the 10 horns of the beast, will include the 4 kingdoms into which the Grecian Empire was divided. In other words, Egypt, Macedon, Thrace, and Syria. It follows, therefore, that the little horn of the he-goat, which is Greece, will be the little horn that rises among the 10 horns of the fourth wild beast, which is ancient Rome. For Syria, which is one of the 4 divisions of the Grecian Empire, will at the same time be one of the component parts of the revived Roman Empire. Again, those who claim that Antiochus Epiphanes, who lived around 175 to 165 BC, the king of Syria, was the little horn of the he-goat, overlook the fact that while Antiochus Epiphanes devastated Palestine and caused an idol altar to be erected on the brazen altar of the temple, on which he offered swine flesh, which was an abomination to the Jews, he does not fulfill the description of the little horn of the he-goat which we have in Daniel chapter 8, verses 9 to 12, and verses 12 to 25, for neither Antiochus Epiphanes nor any other ruler of the past ever stood up against Jesus, the Prince of Princes. Neither was Antiochus Epiphanes broken without hand. He died a natural death at Tebais around 165 BC. But the little horn of the he-goat is to be broken without hand. His kingdom is to be destroyed by a stone cut out of the mountain without hands. And he himself shall be paralyzed by the brightness of the Lord's coming, which we clearly read in the second epistle to the Thessalonians, chapter 2 and verse 8. And he shall be cast alive into the lake of fire, according to Revelation chapter 19, verse 20. There is no intimation in Scripture that Antiochus Epiphanes is even to be regarded as a type of Antichrist. They are distinct historical personages, and though they resemble each other in some respects, yet they must not be confounded with each other. After this prolonged exposition of Daniel's foreview of the Antichrist, which has seemed necessary to a proper understanding of the meaning of the beast which John saw, turn to Paul's foreview. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, that is, the day of the Lord, shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, which we interpret as the rebuilt temple at Jerusalem, showing himself that he is God. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. In other words, in Paul's day, only he that is the Holy Spirit, who now letteth or restraineth, will let or restrain, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit or breath of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness or manifestation of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, who is Christ, that they might be saved, as we have recorded in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 10. In the American Standard Edition of the Bible, the Antichrist is called the mystery of lawlessness, or the lawless one as such. He is not the cause of lawlessness. He is the result or fruit of it. For he will arise out of the seething cauldron of lawlessness that is now becoming more pronounced and manifest in the world. The name that the Apostle Paul gives the Antichrist, the son of perdition, is not without significance. The name is used but twice in the Scriptures. It is first used by Christ of Judas in Gospel of John chapter 17 verse 12, and then here of Antichrist. The apostle also calls the Antichrist in this passage the mystery of iniquity. What does that mean? In 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 16, Christ is spoken of as the mystery of godliness, that is, that he was God manifest in the flesh. How did he become manifest in the flesh? It was by being born of the Virgin Mary by the Holy Spirit. Thus it was that Jesus became the Son of God, according to Luke chapter 1 verse 35. Now as iniquity is the opposite of godliness, then the mystery of iniquity must be the opposite of the mystery of godliness. That is, if Christ is the mystery of godliness, Antichrist must be the mystery of iniquity. And as Christ was the Son of God, then Antichrist must be the son of perdition, that is, of Satan. And as Christ was born of a virgin by the Holy Spirit, so Antichrist will be born of a woman, not necessarily a virgin by Satan himself. This is no new view, for it has been held by many of God's spiritually minded children since the days of the Apostle John, and there is some warrant for it in the Scriptures. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, God said to the serpent, addressing Satan himself, "I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed." Now the woman's seed was Christ. Then the serpent's seed must be Antichrist. In John chapter 8, verse 44, Jesus said to the Jews, "Ye are of your father the devil. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh on his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." In the Greek, there is the definite article before lie, and it should read the lie. So when the devil speaks of the lie, he is speaking of his own child, for he is a liar, and the father of it, in other words, the father of the lie. And it is worthy of note that in the verse 11 that follows the passage we are considering, that the apostle says, "And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie." Here again, the definite article is found in the Greek, and it should read the lie, the son of perdition and the Antichrist. But why was Judas called the son of perdition? Was he a child of Satan by some woman, or was he simply indwelt by Satan? Here we must let the Scriptures speak for themselves. In John chapter 6, verse 70 to 71, we read that Jesus said, "Have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil?" He spoke of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, for he it was that should betray him, being one of the 12. In no other passage than this is the word devil applied to anyone but to Satan himself. Here the word is diabolos. The definite article is employed, and it should read, "And one of you is the devil." This would make Judas the devil incarnate, or the mystery of iniquity, and explains why Jesus in John chapter 17 verse 12 calls him the son of perdition. This is the only place in the Scriptures where the word diabolos is applied to a human being, and it implies an incarnation. While perdition is a place, it is also a condition into which men may fall. And while men who have committed the unpardonable sin are sons of perdition, because they are destined to the place of the irrevocably lost, yet Judas and Antichrist are the sons of perdition in a special sense, for they are the sons of the author of perdition, the devil. That is, they are not merely obsessed or controlled by the devil. The devil has incarnated himself in them, and for the time being, to all practical purposes, they are the very devil himself. The next question that arises is, if Judas and the Antichrist are both called the son of perdition, are they one and the same, or are there two sons of perdition? Here we must anticipate. Turning to Revelation chapter 11 verse 7, we read that the beast that slays the two witnesses ascends out of the bottomless pit or the abyss, and that beast is the Antichrist. Now, how did he get into the abyss? Well, if there is only one son of perdition, and Judas and Antichrist are one and the same, when he got in the abyss, when Judas went to his own place, in other words, the very abyss. Of no other person is it said anywhere in the Scriptures that he went to his own place. Again, in Revelation chapter 17 verse 8, it is said, "The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit or abyss, and go into perdition." As this beast is the same that slays the two witnesses, he is the Antichrist. Now there are four things said of him. First, he was. Second, he is not. Third, he shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Fourth, he shall go into perdition. From this we learn that in John's day the beast was not, but that he had been before on the earth and was to come again, that he has to ascend from the bottomless pit. This is positive proof that the Antichrist has been on the earth before, and that when he comes in the future he will come from the abyss. The question then arises, when was Antichrist on the earth before? If Judas and Antichrist are one and the same, the enigma is solved. When Judas was on the earth, he was. When Judas went to his own place, he was not. When Judas comes back from the abyss, he will be the Antichrist. The author does not insist on this view of Judas and Antichrist being correct, but with open mind, he accepts it because it seems to be the only logical solution of both Judas and Antichrist being called the son of perdition. John saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat or his throne, great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. When we compare these 4 views, and note the similarity of conduct of Daniel's little horn, Paul's man of sin, and John's beast, and that Daniel's little horn and John's beast are to continue for the same length of time, 42 months or 3½ years, and that Daniel's little horn, Paul's man of sin, and John's beast are all to be destroyed in the same manner of Christ's second coming, we see that they all prefigure the same evil power which is after the working of Satan, and which John in 1 John chapter 2 verse 18 calls the Antichrist. In other words, when we find in prophecy 3 symbolic personages that come upon the stage of action at the same time, occupy the same territory, exhibit the same character, do the same work, exist the same length of time, and meet the same fate, they must symbolize the same thing. Before we examine in detail John's beast, it would be well for us to compare it with Daniel's 4th wild beast. In comparing these 2 beasts, we find that they both come up out of the sea or the nations, and they are utterly unlike any beast we have ever heard of. Daniel's beast was dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth and nails of brass, while John's beast was like a leopard, with the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. As Daniel's beast represented the 4th kingdom upon the earth, the Roman Empire, it is evident that its characteristics describe the old Roman Empire, while the characteristics of John's beast represent the revived Roman Empire. We know that the old Roman Empire was strong exceedingly, and its grip and power was like a beast with great iron teeth and nails of brass. And from the description of John's beast, we learn that the revived Roman Empire shall embody all the characteristics of the 4 world empires, as seen in its leopard-like body, its feet of a bear, and its mouth of a lion. That both beasts have 10 horns reveals the fact that they will be in existence at the time indicated by the 10 toes of the Colossus with which they correspond, which will be just before the setting up of the stone or millennial kingdom of Christ. We are told that the 10 horns of Daniel's beast stand for 10 kings, and the 10 horns of John's beast stand for the same. From this we see that both Daniel and John foresaw that the Roman Empire was to be eventually divided into 10 separate but federated kingdoms.
Thou, O king, sawest, and behold a great image, this great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form therefore was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Saul told that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and have made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arrive another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For Moshad as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things. And of iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. From Masham as thou sawest the iron mixed with neri clay. As the toes of the feet were part of iron, and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong, and partly broken. And whereof thou sawest iron mixed with neri clay, they shall mingle themselves with the feet of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
The trumpet sounded a scream in the night. Write what you see, warn those in despair, for the clouds of delusion are filling the air. From the churning salt and the white water spray, a monstrous horror rose to claim the day. Leopard, bear, and lion, a nightmare design. Seven heads screaming, blasphemous and blind. One head was wounded, pierced by mortal steel, but he lived again to make the nations real. The world looked on, they marveled at the light, and bowed in submission to the terrible sight. Who can stand, who can war with might, when the dragon's shadow swallows the light? Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell, before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. And from the dust another beast arose, a wolf in lamb's wool in a holy disguise. He breathed life into stone, cold fire from blue, painting a lie that the multitude took for true. With two horns glowing and ancient dragon eyes, he led the blind world with the symphony of light. He built an image, he commanded the knee. Bow to the first, or you'll cease to be. No rich, no poor, no bondman's chain can escape the brand, can't escape the stain. The seal is set tight on the hand and the head, the price of the bread, the road to the dead. Who can stand, who can war with might, when the dragon's shadow swallows the light? Wake up from the dream, hey, hear the warning bell, before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Listen, can you hear the cipher? The arithmetic of a fallen the dragon's shadow swallows the light. Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Wisdom whispers through the closing gate. The number of a man. Besides 8, 6, 6, 6, 6. Upon a lonely isle caught in spirit's flight, the trumpet sounded a scream in the night. Write what you see, warn those in despair, for the clouds of delusion are filling the air. From the churning salt and the white water spray, a monstrous horror rose to claim the day. Leopard, bear, and lion, a nightmare design. 7 heads screaming, blasphemous and blind. One head was wounded, pierced by mortal steel, but he lived again to make the nations real. The world looked on, they marveled at the light, and bowed in submission to the terrible sight. Who can stand, who can war with might, when the dragon's shadow swallows the light? Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell, before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Then from the dust another beast arose, a wolf in lamb's wool in a holy disguise. He breathed life into stone, called fire from blue, painting a lie that the multitude took for true. With 2 horns glowing and ancient dragon eyes, he led the blind world with a symphony of light. He built an image, he commanded the knee, bow to the first or you'll cease to be. No rich, no poor, no bondman's chain can't escape the brand, can't escape the stain. The seal is set tight on the hand and the head, the price of the bread, the road to the dead. Who can stand, who can war with might, when the dragon's shadow swallows the light? Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell, before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Listen. Can you hear the cipher? The cipher. The arithmetic of a fallen man. Fallen man. No bond. No heaven. Just see warn those in despair, for the clouds of delusion are filling the air. From the turning salt and the white water spray, a monstrous horror rose to claim the day. Leopard, bear, and lion, a nightmare design. 7 heads screaming, blasphemous and blind. One head was wounded, pierced by mortal steel, but he lived again to make the nations reel. The world looked on, they marveled at the light, and bowed in submission to the terrible sight. Who can stand, who can war with might, when the dragon's shadow swallows the light? Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell, before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Then from the dust another beast arose, a wolf in lamb's wool in a holy disguise. He breathed life in a stone, called fire from blue, painting a lie that the multitude took for true. With 2 horns glowing and ancient dragon eyes, he led the blind world with the symphony of lies. He built an image, he commanded the knee, bow to the first, or you'll cease to be. No rich, no poor, no bondman's chain can escape the bread, can escape the stain. The seal is set tight on the hand and the head, the price of the bread, the road to the dead. Who can stand, who can war with might, when the dragon's shadow swallows the light? Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell, before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Listen. Can you hear the cipher? The arithmetic of a fallen man. No buy, no sell, no heaven, just hell. The trumpet sounded, a scream in the night. Write what you see, warn those in despair, for the clouds of delusion are filling the air. From the churning salt and the white water spray, a monstrous horror rose to claim the day. A leopard, bear, and lion, a nightmare design. 7 heads screaming, blasphemous and blind. One head was wounded, pierced by mortal steel, but he lived again. from the dust, another beast arose, a wolf in lamb's wool, in a holy disguise. He breathed life into stone, called fire from blue, painting a lie that the multitude took for true. With two horns glowing and ancient dragon eyes, he led the blind world with a symphony of lies. He built an image, he commanded the knee, bow to the first, or you'll cease to be. No rich, no poor, no bondman's chain can escape the brand, can escape the stain. The seal is set tight on the hand and the head, the price of the bread, the road to the dead. Who can stand? Who can war with might? Who can war when the dragon's shadow swallows the light? Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Listen, can you hear the cipher? The arithmetic of a fallen man. No buy, no sell, no heaven, just hell. No heaven, just Who can stand? Who can war with the might? Who can stand? Who can stand? Who can war with the might? When the dragon's shadow swallows the light. Wake up from the dream, hear the warning bell before the gates open to a living hell. It's a battle for the soul, it's a war for the plan. Beware the mark, the number of a man. Decides this fate.